This video serves as like a update to my previous video on the so-called forgotten people of America. I talk about, just to recap about, the people of Appalachia and, how their community, I would say, is probably the most misunderstood in all of American politics. And, there's only so much you can rate. Obviously, you have the Hillbilly Elegy by J.D. Vance that blew up completely, got him to a senator role, and some even argue to his position as vice president. But I think that's something, there's more about the Appalachian community, and I wanted to know more. So last weekend, my friends from Appalachia gracefully took me to their town, their community in southern Ohio, to watch the Ohio State football game against Texas in the semifinals, and just explore the town and get used to it. And first thing upon arriving in Appalachia, you notice is like the huge hills and trees everywhere, and there's so many turns and curves in the road, and when you make a sharp turn, you don't see it coming, but it's all the way there. And I think that's obviously very symbolic of these people, this community of people where if you're just driving normally on the road, you wouldn't even see the turn unless you purposely, had to make that turn. And so, pulling into the first and foremost, I would say from the Chicagoland area as a suburban kid, I thought I knew rural, right? You go southern Ohio or southern Illinois, you see a lot of so-called rural people, but this in Appalachia didn't pale in comparison. I mean, people were roads apart. There are some of their houses. And first thing I noticed is that a lot of these houses were very old but maintained. Now you saw some houses of just pure and sheer utter garbage, for lack of a better term, right next to houses that were beautiful, overlooking a lake or a river or anything like that when you have it. I remember specifically we made a stop at a gas station, and I see this woman in the morning at this gas station carrying 4 big cups of soda, and I'm like, oh wow, that's a lot of soda in the morning. And as soon as she says goodbye, and everybody's very friendly with each other, but I'll get to more of that later. As soon as she says goodbye, she starts walking out the store in the cold. The snow is still pouring down. It's probably about 15 degrees outside. The wind chill is just terrible. And I just see her in a sweatshirt and some joggers walking back to where I assume her home was. I think that's very indicative. That moment right there, that scenario was very indicative of, the people of Appalachia. Another thing I took notices of was I could almost point to any house, any location. Do you know what that is? Tell me about this. Who lives here? And immediately, oh, I know who lives there. Oh, this is my friend. He lives here. That sense of community that I stressed in my last video, I didn't think I stressed it enough, because I think, even in the South, where you have the Atlantas and the Miamis of the world that are becoming developed and comparable to the, areas of the North and Northeast, that sense of community, I mean true community, where, you're not, the closest city is Columbus, and that's a couple hours away, if that, or even Chillicothe. That sense of community is something that I think really, is needed in today's society. And I know a lot of people rip on the Appalachians for being hillbillies and meth heads or whatever the stereotype is, but that sense of community I think is unmatched compared to any other area, location, demographic, ethnicity in America. It was truly something to marvel. Politically speaking, right, obviously most of these people were wearing camo pants and shirts. They had Trump caps, not the MAGA hats. You would never see someone wearing a MAGA hat. You'd only see kind of like counterfeit Trump hats. It'll just say Trump, make America great again on them. You'll see a lot of Trump bumper stickers, Trump flags waving. And I think J.D. Vance talks about in his book way before he even became a senator, when he didn't really like the Trump brand of conservatism. He pointed out how the Appalachian people are, sort of intoxicated inside of a bubble, where they're always looking for someone to blame. They're always looking for someone to look at as someone of a fault. Um, as much as I understand where he's coming from, I don't think that automatically makes them dumber people. I think most people, you saw that huge shift in Appalachia from, hardcore labor, blue collar Democrats to all of a sudden, populist Trump supporters. And I think that's just indicative of someone who, like Trump, understands the idea of hope. And I know Ohio was blue in 2008 and I believe 2012. And, I think politics for the Appalachian community is not so much about policy, but so much just about care and compassion. And whichever candidate, whichever party displays more of that, I think the Appalachian people will gravitate towards. Whether you think Trump is going to, solve all the problems that Appalachia faces is up to you. But what I am saying, he does offer that hope that the community just looks for. And I think Obama tugged on those same heartstrings, which is something very unique in politics these days. Most people obviously are single issue voters, whether it's abortion or anything of those natures, right? But the Appalachian people, I feel, are much more tied to charisma, those intangibles, those that X factor, what makes someone charismatic, what makes someone display signs of strength or hope. Because I think the Appalachian people have gone to brave through so many struggles here and there, unmatched compared to not any, but I would say most communities in America. And I think part of that is just the idea of going forgotten. And I mean, just to put it short, I think the Appalachian community, even though they're all spread out by these mountains, they still come together as a community. And I think that's indicative of, if nobody cares about you, you automatically develop a love and a bond for the person who's going through that same struggle, that same story, so to speak, as you. And I think that's why the Appalachian community is so tight knit and caring for one another. And I think, my only hope is that J.D. Vance, wherever his political career takes him, I hope he doesn't forget his roots, because I think America needs those principles of compassion and care more than any time. And I'm glad to say that me, as someone who looks the way I do, was accepted. And I think that's something, obviously it's just one scenario. Obviously it's anecdotal, it's not hardcore evidence, but I'm just sharing that with you. So thank you for watching.